Since you were also cheating, we're even now? That's what my husband told me, like we were settling some bar tab instead of detonating a 5-year marriage. My name is Nora Callahan. I'm 40 years old, and if there's one thing my life has taught me, it's this. You don't pull the trigger until you're sure. I'm a corporate lawyer doing commercial litigation, the kind of cases where one misplaced comma costs someone 7 figures, and every one day a suit costs more than most people's cars. Details are my oxygen. I make a living off other people's carelessness. I grew up outside Kansas City where Friday night football wasn't optional and neither was church on Sunday. My childhood smelled like cut grass, gun oil, and slow cooker pot roast. Dad taught me and my brother how to shoot when I was 8. November meant whitetail hunting. You learn patience sitting in a deer blind at 5 a.m. in freezing temperatures, breath fogging in the dark, waiting for the perfect shot. You don't rush, you don't flinch, you wait for the exact moment. You pull the trigger when it's right, not before. That patience carried me through law school, passing the bar on my first try, and building a career where mistakes don't just hurt feelings, they get you destroyed. I moved to California for school and stayed for work. The pace fit me. The pressure, the late nights, the adrenaline of walking into court with a case so tight the other side already looks resigned. That part I loved. I still hit the range twice a month. Some women do yoga. I shoot. It keeps my hands steady and my head quiet. I'm not rich, but I'm solid. I made partner track money and didn't act like an idiot with it. While my friends were upgrading cars every lease cycle and throwing everything on credit, I was hoarding cash like an anxious squirrel. By the time I turned 35, I had enough for a real down payment. I dropped 45 grand on a condo in a decent neighborhood, 2 bedrooms, updated kitchen, an actual parking spot that didn't require a blood sacrifice to secure. My name alone on the deed. Not because I was planning to be alone forever, but because no bank needed anyone else on that application. I liked that. Then I met Ryan. It was one of those shooting range simulators downtown. Corporate team-building chaos. His company had booked the place for an afternoon bonding event. I had just finished my session, adrenaline still buzzing, and pushed through the door at the exact same time someone barreled in. We collided, hard. "Oh crap, sorry," he laughed. He had that easy, careless charm some men are just born with. Dark hair, sleeves rolled up, tie half loosened, like he'd walked out of a commercial. His energy filled up the whole parking lot. "You okay?" he asked. "Depends," I said, catching my balance. "Did I just get taken out by poor doorway etiquette?" He grinned. "I'll accept full liability. I'm Ryan, by the way." We ended up talking for 20 minutes right there outside the simulator. He was sharp and funny in that way that didn't feel rehearsed. He made boring small talk actually interesting. When he asked for my number, it felt natural. We started texting that night. Coffee turned into dinner, dinner turned into drinks, drinks turned into, "So what are we doing?" We dated for a year before the living together conversation even came up. By then, he knew I was cautious with money, and I knew he could be impulsive with his. He worked in consulting sales. Decent money, big promises, lots of travel. His student loans were still sitting on his chest like a boulder. His credit was torched from mistakes he'd made in his 20s. When we decided to move in together, I was the one holding the stable ground. I already had the condo. I'd put the 45 grand down payment down myself. The mortgage was in my name. We talked about putting him on the deed. His credit wouldn't qualify for a decent rate. I told myself it didn't matter. We were building something together. The legal paperwork didn't have to match the emotional reality. I wanted to believe that. Proposing wasn't some dramatic kneel-in-the-rain moment. It was quiet. We were at home, eating takeout on the couch after a long week. He was telling me about a deal that fell through because a client got cold feet. I was half listening, half watching the way his face changed when he talked about winning. It just came out. "Do you ever think about getting married?" He stopped mid-sentence. "To you? Yeah, all the time." I laughed, but my heart sped up. "Is that your way of proposing?" He set his carton down, wiped his hands, and nodded. "Nora, marry me." It was simple. No ring yet. No grand speeches. Just a man looking at me like he'd already decided we were inevitable. I said yes. We made it official 18 months after we met. Napa venue, vineyard backdrop, the whole Instagram-friendly package. His family flew in. Mine drove out from Kansas in a caravan, half of them wide-eyed at California wine country. My dad walked me down the aisle, eyes suspiciously shiny. Mom kept saying how proud she was that I'd done it right. Career first, then marriage. Ryan's parents loved that I was the responsible one. My parents loved that he was charming and made me laugh. On paper, we were perfect. We'd been married 3 years when everything fell apart. Here's the thing I didn't realize at the time. My life looked meticulous from the outside, but there were already cracks in the foundation. They just hadn't been pressure tested yet. Before Ryan, there'd been Charlie. We'd dated for almost 2 years. He started off sweet, attentive, the kind of guy who'd remember your coffee order and text goodnight every day. Somewhere along the way, it morphed into something darker. Clinginess, masquerading as devotion. Jealousy dressed up as caring. If I stayed late at the office, he demanded pictures as proof. If I went out with coworkers, he'd text 20 times in an hour. He'd show up unannounced, just to see my face. When I finally ended it, he did not take the breakup well. I'm talking showing up at my office, waiting in his car, texting from numbers I didn't recognize, creating fake social media accounts just to watch my stories. My firm's security had to walk him out once. Eventually, he moved to another state, and I filed him in my mental cabinet as ancient history, do not reopen. So when Ryan and I got serious, I mentioned Charlie once. Yeah, I had an ex. It ended badly. He went a little unstable. We don't talk, I told him. But it's over. Ryan seemed cool about it, shrugged. Everyone's got an ex they'd erase if they could. I thought that was the end of it. Then one random Tuesday, 3 years into our marriage, I was prepping for a deposition when my phone buzzed with a number I hadn't seen in over a year. Charlie, hey, I think your husband hacked my social media accounts. I stared at the message for 10 seconds, trying to process the sheer stupidity. Ryan barely used social media beyond posting the occasional work win or sunset photo. He could navigate PowerPoint, not someone's locked down Instagram. And more importantly, why would he care enough about Charlie to hack anything? My unstable ex was a closed chapter. I didn't tell Ryan about the text. I didn't want to drag old history into our present. I didn't want to say, hey, remember that guy who used to lurk in parking lots? He's back. So I texted back, not him, don't know what to tell you. I figured that was the end of it. I was wrong. 3 weeks after Charlie's "your husband hacked me" text, life felt boring again, in the best way. It was a Saturday afternoon. I'd just finished a home workout in the living room, sweat cooling on my skin. Ryan was on the couch, legs stretched out, scrolling his phone with that glazed-over expression everyone gets after too much Instagram. Hank was a snoring lump on his dog bed. The TV played some home renovation show in the background, sound low. It was one of those utterly forgettable afternoons that, in hindsight, always come right before everything explodes. I grabbed a bottle of water from the fridge, took a long drink, and turned back toward the living room. That's when Ryan's phone buzzed. Nothing unusual. His phone buzzed constantly. Clients, coworkers, group chats. But this time, the way his face changed wasn't normal. 1 second, he was blankly scrolling. The next, his whole expression went tight. "What's up?" I asked, walking around the couch. He didn't answer, just stared at the screen like he was trying to make the text rearrange itself into something less awful. "Ryan?" I nudged his shoulder lightly. He finally looked at me, eyes narrowed, then turned the phone so I could see. It was an Instagram DM from some account named Julie Midwest. Generic profile picture. Maybe a real person, maybe a burner. "Hey, I know your wife from high school. Not sure if you know, but she's been messaging me on Tinder. Thought you should know." 3 screenshots attached. My face, my name, my supposed Tinder messages. I felt my stomach drop, not from guilt, but from recognition. The profile picture was an old photo of me from 4 years ago. One I'd posted on Facebook once and forgotten about. Hair a little longer, softer, wearing a flannel and jeans, laughing at something off camera. Underneath it, name, Nora, age 40. Location, within a few miles of our condo. The messages were worse. "Hey, remember me from school? I'm in town visiting. Want to meet up like we did last month?" Ryan's voice was very calm when he finally spoke. Too calm. "So," he said, placing the phone down on the coffee table between us, like evidence in a deposition. "Tinder?" I stared at the screen, then at him. "That's not me," I said. "That's not real." His mouth twisted. "Someone just happened to make a fake account with your face, your name, your location, and just started messaging some random woman from your hometown?" "Yes," I said. "That's exactly what happened." He laughed once, sharp and humorless. How convenient. I sat down on the edge of the coffee table, closer to the phone. My pulse was pounding, but my brain was already sorting. The old photo, the timing, the sudden reappearance of Charlie with the "your husband hacked me" nonsense. I could practically see the threads connecting. "Ryan," I said slowly, "I have never been on Tinder in my life." He crossed his arms. "Explain the messages then. Explain this whole thing." "I can't explain what someone else wrote," I said. "I can only tell you I didn't write them." "How do I know you didn't make this up?" he shot back. "Some excuse you prepped in case you got caught?" "Caught doing what?" My voice rose, sharper than I intended. "I'm not on Tinder." He leaned back, eyes cold. "Really?" "Because your face is right there, your name, your messages, and I'm supposed to just believe you." "Yes," I said, "because I'm telling you the truth, and you know me better than this." He stood up so fast the couch creaked, started pacing the length of the living room, one hand dragging through his hair. "You know what?" he said finally, voice tight. "You actually just made things easier." Something inside me snapped to full alert. "Easier?" I repeated. "What's that supposed to mean?" He gestured at the phone. "This. All of this. I've been struggling with something, and I kept thinking about how to bring it up. But this just puts us on the same level." The room felt suddenly smaller. "On the same level," I repeated slowly. "Ryan, what did you do?" He stopped pacing and looked at me with an expression I recognized from opposing counsel right before they tried to spin something unforgivable into something reasonable. "I've been seeing someone from work," he said. Silence. The TV hummed. Hank snored. A car drove past outside. "How long?" I asked. 8 months, he said. "Her name is Amanda. Was my supervisor." There was no remorse in his tone, just relief, like he'd finally set down a heavy bag he'd been pretending he wasn't carrying. 8 months, I repeated. My voice didn't sound like mine. It sounded distant, clinical. He nodded, eyes still on me. "I felt horrible about it. I couldn't sleep, kept thinking about telling you. But then this," he pointed at the phone again, "shows up. So I guess we're both guilty, huh?" I just stared at him. You'd think in a moment like that your mind would explode, that you'd scream or cry or throw something. Instead, my brain went deadly quiet. "You think because someone sent you fake screenshots," I said slowly, "that makes what you did okay?" "Fake?" he scoffed. "Come on, Nora, your face, your name, your messages. You got caught. I got caught. We're even." "We're even." The words tasted like metal. "You cheated on me for 8 months, I said, and you think fake Tinder screenshots make us even?" "They're not fake," he snapped. "What? You're going to say your entire past just happened to crawl out of the grave and frame you? That some random psycho from your life did this for fun?" I held his gaze. "Yes, that is exactly what I'm saying." His jaw flexed. "Give me your phone." "What?" "Give me your phone," he repeated. "Unlock it. Hand it over. If you're not hiding anything, there shouldn't be a problem." I pulled my phone from my leggings pocket, thumbed it open, and handed it to him without hesitation. "Go ahead," I said. "Search whatever you want. Messages, apps, browser history, knock yourself out." He hesitated for half a second, like he'd expected more resistance. Then he started scrolling. Text threads, email, app list. His eyes flicked back and forth, looking for something explosive. There was nothing. He checked the App Store history. No Tinder, no dating apps, nothing that even resembled one. "You happy?" I asked. He didn't answer. His pride wouldn't let him say yes. "Now it's my turn," I said. I walked to my office, grabbed my laptop, and came back. Sat down across from him at the dining table and opened the browser. "Watch," I said. I went to Tinder's website, clicked log in, and entered my phone number. We both waited. On my phone, nothing. No verification code. On the website, a small error popped up. "This number is not associated with an account." "Try email," I said calmly. I entered my main email. Same message. "No account," I said, because I don't have one. He shifted his weight, still standing, still holding my phone. "That doesn't prove—" "It proves this number isn't registered," I cut in, "and this email isn't registered, and that whoever made that profile had access to my old Facebook pictures." I pulled up my social media, scrolled until I found the exact picture used in the Tinder profile. Same angle, same smile, same background. "Here," I said, turning the screen toward him. "Posted 4 years ago. Public, back when I didn't lock everything down. You know who would still be able to see it?" He didn't answer. "Charlie," I said. "The ex I told you about. The one who texted me 3 weeks ago saying you hacked his accounts." He blinked. "You never told me about that." "No," I said, "because I didn't want to drag his crazy back into our lives. I didn't want to stress you out over some pathetic attempt at attention." His face flickered, just for a moment. I pulled up my text thread with Charlie and slid the laptop closer so he could read. Hey, I think your husband hacked my social media accounts. Not him. Don't know what to tell you. That was Tuesday, I said. 3 weeks ago. I ignored it. And now, magically, a fake Tinder account using my face pops up to you, complete with screenshots and dramatic DMs. Ryan's grip tightened on my phone. His eyes moved over the screen, then up to me. This doesn't prove he did it, he said, but his voice had lost some of its earlier conviction. It doesn't have to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt, I said quietly. I'm not in court. I'm in my living room with my husband, who just told me he's been cheating on me for 8 months and thinks we're even because someone sent him fake receipts. He flinched at the word cheating, like hearing it out loud hurt more than the act itself. I took a breath, steady and slow. Let's call him, I said, right now. I didn't wait for Ryan to respond. I pulled my phone from his hand, found Charlie's number, and hit call. Then I pressed speaker and set it on the table between us like it was evidence exhibit A. It rang twice. Hello? Charlie's voice, too bright, too rehearsed, filled the room. Charlie, I said, tone flat enough to cut glass. Did you make a fake Tinder profile using my pictures? There was a beat of silence, then a nervous little laugh. What are you? Yes or no, I interrupted. Did you make a fake Tinder account and send screenshots to my husband? Another silence, this one longer and colder. Charlie exhaled shakily. Then, finally, fine, yes, but you deserved it after what you did. Ryan's head jerked up. What I did? I repeated. I broke up with you 2 years ago. That's it. That's the whole crime? You broke my heart, Charlie snapped. You moved on like I didn't matter. You married someone else. By existing, by living my life, I cut in. We don't even talk, Charlie. We haven't in years. Charlie's voice pitched higher. Well, your husband deserved to know what kind of person you really are. I felt my jaw tighten. The truth is that you're unhinged. I clicked end call without another word. The room was dead quiet. Ryan stared at the phone like it had personally betrayed him. That was your ex? He asked, voice low. Yep, I said. The one I didn't want to tell you about texting me because I didn't want to drag you into it. He swallowed, throat bobbing. A crack. The first one. But then, instead of remorse, he pivoted. You should have told me he contacted you. Ryan, I said carefully, you cheated on me for 8 months. He flinched, again. And you only admitted it, I continued, because you thought these fake screenshots gave you some kind of moral get-out-of-jail-free card. That's not... You weren't going to tell me. You didn't come clean out of guilt or honesty. You confessed because you thought you caught me too. His jaw flexed, his eyes flickered. Guilt, anger, pride, all fighting for space. I felt horrible, he insisted. I ended it last month. I was going to tell you. No, I said quietly. You weren't. His nostrils flared. You don't know that. I do. I stepped closer. The calm in my voice scared even me. I know because you only told me when you thought you weren't the only one who messed up. That's not fair, he snapped. What's not fair, I countered, is you sleeping with your boss for nearly a year and looking me in the eye every day like nothing was wrong. He tried to reach for my hand. I stepped back. Nora? No. I cut him off with a word that landed like a closing argument. Pack your things. His eyes widened. What? Pack your things. You can't just kick me out. I absolutely can, I crossed my arms. My name is on the deed. My money paid the down payment. You have zero legal claim to this place. He stared at me, stunned, but only for a moment. Then the entitlement kicked in. So what, you're just going to throw me out like garbage? I'm throwing out the trash behavior, I said. Not the man. Though the distinction is getting blurry. He scoffed. Where am I supposed to go? Not my problem, I said. Call Amanda. Maybe she's got a couch. Color climbed up his neck. There's nothing serious with Amanda. That's obvious, I said. She was just available. His face twisted. Wow, real classy. You cheated on me, I said. You don't get to critique my tone. He opened his mouth like he had another argument ready, then closed it, because nothing he said could fix the math. 8 months of lies, one fake screenshot, a marriage crumbling because he grabbed the first excuse he could find. I walked to the bedroom, pulled a suitcase from the closet, and tossed it at his feet. You have 1 hour. Grab what you need. You can pick up the rest later with a police escort. You're being dramatic, he said. No, I said, I'm being done. I walked into my office, locked the door. From the other side, I heard him pacing, sniffing back tears he didn't truly earn, making frantic phone calls, shoving things into bags, cursing under his breath, demanding sympathy from anyone who would listen. I sat in my office, hands folded, back straight, and I listened to my marriage collapse in real time, in muffled sobs, in angry zippers, in slammed drawers, in half-packed luggage. Eventually, the front door opened, then closed. Silence. When I stepped out, the living room felt hollow. 2 suitcases missing, 1 wedding photo gone, a faint smell of his cologne still hanging in the air like a ghost I didn't want. My phone buzzed. A text from him. "We can work through this. Please, I made a mistake." I deleted it, blocked the number. Then I took a deep, steady breath. The same breath I used before walking into court with a career-defining case. Because I already knew what came next. This was no longer emotional. This was procedural. This was strategy. This was evidence. And I was done waiting for the right moment. I would pull the trigger now, deliberately, cleanly, with precision. The second the door closed behind Ryan, the temperature of the entire condo shifted. The air felt still, cleaner, colder. Like the moment after the recoil of a rifle, when the world hasn't yet caught up to the fact that something irreversible happened. I stood alone in the silence, letting my heartbeat settle into a slow, deliberate rhythm. I wasn't crying, I wasn't shaking, I wasn't even angry. I was operating, and when I operate, I don't miss. First call, my divorce attorney, Clarissa. She picked up on the second ring. "Tell me you're calling because you finally decided to ditch that man," she said by way of greeting. "Infidelity," I said. 8 months. He admitted it. Clarissa whistled. "We love a clean case. Prenup terms still the same?" "Infidelity clause stands. Cheating spouse gets nothing." "Excellent," she said. "Do you have documentation?" "I will." My voice was steady enough to make her pause. "Oh God," she murmured. "You're going into litigator mode." "I'm already there," I said. "Give me 48 hours," I told her, "then call opposing counsel." She laughed. "You're terrifying. Call me when you're done destroying him." I hung up. Then I started. Move 1, phone records. Our phone plan was in my name, which meant I could log in and pull every call, every text, every timestamp. The pattern was immediate and damning. Midday calls to Amanda. Late night calls to Amanda. Daily text clusters between 11 p.m. and 1 a.m. Multiple calls during what Ryan labeled client lunches. I exported the data, dropped it into a spreadsheet, color-coded it like a crime scene. Red, daily contact, orange, 2 to 3 times per week. Yellow, suspicious timing. Gray, alibis that didn't match reality. The sheet lit up like a Christmas tree made of poor decisions. Move 2, credit card statements. Our cards were separate, but I had online access to his through the joint account we used for utilities. I downloaded 6 months of statements. I wasn't prepared for how blatant the charges were. Boutique hotel downtown, $287. Wednesday afternoon. Same hotel 2 weeks later, $312. Romantic restaurants. On nights he texted me, "Working late, don't wait up." I highlighted anything that didn't match his normal spending pattern. Then cross-referenced with his shared work calendar. He'd labeled the hotel days as off-site client meeting. The audacity almost impressed me. Move 3, calendar cross-referencing. I opened our synced calendar, scrolled through the last 6 months. Every hotel charge lined up perfectly with a conference, a training, a client dinner, or a suspiciously vague team strategy session. He never even tried to space out the lies. They just stacked neatly on top of each other like poorly built Jenga towers. Move 4, cloud photos. Our home computer was still logged into Ryan's cloud account. He had forgotten to disconnect it after we synced family photos months ago. That mistake was about to cost him everything. A folder I'd never noticed before sat among the others. Work Travel 2023. I clicked it open, and there they were. Ryan and Amanda, at restaurants, at hotel lobbies, at a weekend trip he told me was a team-building offsite. All time-stamped, all geotagged, all synced automatically. Some were selfies. Some he clearly didn't even know had uploaded. Every single one was a nail in the coffin. I compiled everything. Phone logs, screenshots, receipts, calendar overlays, photos. 47 pages in a perfectly organized folder with color-coded tabs, each section labeled, each piece positioned to reinforce the last. Evidence isn't about volume, it's about clarity. It's about presenting a story so undeniable that arguing becomes pointless. By the time I finished, the sun had gone down, my coffee had gone cold, and I had the strongest, cleanest case I'd ever built. Move 5, company policy. This was the part that made me sit back and let out a laugh, a genuine stunned laugh. Ryan worked at a consulting firm. Amanda was his supervisor, his direct supervisor. I happened to know their employee handbook intimately, not because I cared about Ryan's job, but because my law firm represented their company. 2 years ago, I had personally reviewed and signed off on the revision of their employment policy, including Section 4.7, Workplace Relationships. Romantic or sexual relationships between supervisors and subordinates are strictly prohibited. Violation is grounds for immediate termination. No exceptions, no footnotes, no escape hatch. He hadn't just cheated on me. He had violated a corporate policy that I helped enforce. Amanda had risked her entire career for a man who couldn't keep his timeline straight. The irony was delicious. By midnight, I had everything assembled in a single binder, the kind of binder that could win a trial before opening arguments. I slid it into my briefcase, closed the latch, then finally allowed myself to breathe. This wasn't rage, this wasn't heartbreak, this wasn't vengeance. This was justice, this was precision. This was the patient shot I'd been waiting to take. Tomorrow would be move 6, and I already knew who my first call would be. By the next morning, I was operating with surgical calm. No trembling hands, no doubts, no second guessing. I woke up early, showered, braided my hair back, dressed in my sharpest charcoal suit, the one opposing counsel always said made me look dangerously prepared, and slid the 47-page evidence binder into my leather briefcase. At 8:01 a.m., I made my first call. The CEO of Ryan's consulting firm, a man I had sat across from many times during contract disputes, employment cases, and compliance reviews. A man whose signature, right now, sat at the bottom of the employee handbook I helped finalize 2 years ago. He answered on the third ring. "Nora, everything all right?" "I need to discuss an ethics situation," I said. "Specifically, Section 4.7 of your employment policy." There was a pause. Not long, just long enough to tell me he knew exactly what Section 4.7 was. He cleared his throat. "I have a client lunch at noon. Meet me there, and bring whatever documentation you have." "Already prepared," I said. The lunch meeting. The restaurant was one of those executive places. Quiet decor, overpriced salads, waiters that materialize out of air. The CEO waved me over before I even reached his table. He looked unsettled, like he already suspected why I was there. "I'm guessing this is urgent," he said. I placed the briefcase on the table, opened it, slid the binder toward him. "It's about 2 of your employees," I said. "Ryan Callahan and his supervisor, Amanda Reese." He exhaled through his nose. Christ, what happened? I didn't answer. I didn't need to. I just gestured to the binder. He opened it, and his entire demeanor shifted. Page 1, color-coded phone logs, dates, times, patterns. Page 5, hotel receipts overlapping with company time. Page 10, calendar comparisons showing falsified client meetings. Page 17, expense reports that suddenly looked suspicious. Page 22, photos, clear, time-stamped, undeniable. By page 3, his lips had thinned. By page 10, his jaw had tightened. By page 17, he was visibly angry. By page 22, he closed the binder entirely and leaned back in his chair. "How long has this been happening?" he asked, voice low. 8 months, I said. He pinched the bridge of his nose. "This is a disaster." I didn't say anything. I didn't need to. He shook his head. "They were meeting on company time, using company resources. She's in a supervisory position. This is a lawsuit waiting to happen, a harassment claim waiting to happen, a liability nightmare." I nodded once, professional, detached, letting him arrive at the conclusion I'd already prepared. "I'm bringing this to the board," he said finally, "today. I'll initiate an internal investigation immediately. With evidence this clear, the outcome is unavoidable." He paused, looked at me carefully. "Nora, I want you to understand something." "Yes?" "This isn't personal. This is policy. This is compliance." "That's why I brought it to you," I replied. A moment passed. A mutual recognition. Not friendship, professional alignment. The unspoken bond of 2 people who understand how institutions really work. "Thank you," he said, "for handling this the right way." "You're welcome," I said. The parallel move. On my drive home, I made my next call. Not to Amanda, not to Ryan, but to Amanda's husband. Her contact info was sitting in our old synced iPad. Ryan had never bothered to delete it. He answered with a cheerful, "Hello?" sounding like a man who still believed his life was intact. "Hi," I said. "My name is Nora Callahan. I'm Ryan's wife." Silence. The kind of silence that drops temperature. "I think you need to see something," I continued. "I'll text it to you. It'll explain itself." I hung up, then sent him everything. The receipts, the logs, the photos, all 47 pages. 10 minutes later, he texted one word. Thank you. No explanation needed. He understood exactly what I'd just handed him. A detonator, a truth bomb. A reason to burn his marriage paperwork to ash. The company falls. By Monday afternoon, things were already in motion. Ryan's number lit up my phone repeatedly. Blocked. Voicemails piling up from unknown numbers. Ignored. Tuesday morning, Amanda's husband called. He was trembling, furious, devastated, but focused. Ryan says this is all fake, he said. Phone logs don't lie, I replied. Hotel receipts don't lie. Calendar entries don't lie. Photos don't lie. He exhaled shakily. Thank you for telling me. I'm sorry you're going through this too. You don't need to apologize, I said. You didn't betray me. He hung up, and I knew without asking. Amanda was being kicked out of her own home that same day. The investigation finishes them. 4 days. That's how long the internal investigation took. On Thursday afternoon, my CEO contact called me. We're terminating both, he said simply. Effective immediately. Thank you for handling it, I replied. This wasn't about you, he said. This was about protocol. I smiled into the phone. I know. He wasn't doing me a favor. He was protecting his company. That's what made it foolproof. Both of them, Ryan and Amanda, were fired by Friday morning. No severance, no negotiation, no golden parachute. Just 2 cardboard boxes, 2 deactivated badges, and 2 destroyed careers. Ryan called 9 times. None got through. None deserved to. But Amanda? I expected her silence. It was her husband who called me instead, voice flat like steel. He's gone, he said. She's gone. I kicked her out. Good, I said. Take care of yourself. You too, he murmured. And then it was done. The corporate fallout, the marital fallout, the emotional fallout, everything in flames, everything exposed. But this wasn't the end. This was only move 7. And next? Next came the part where Ryan learned what losing everything actually looked like. By the time Ryan worked up the nerve to show his face again, he had already lost his job, his reputation, and, based on the frantic voicemails I wasn't listening to, whatever confidence he used to fake in front of people. He finally got through not by calling, but by showing up. Of course. Because when men like Ryan lose control, they go for geography, as if proximity will save them from consequences. It was a Saturday afternoon, sun bright, sky clear, quiet, until the pounding on my door started. I ignored the first knock, and the second. But on the third, the pounding turned into shouting. Nora, open the door, we need to talk. I walked over, checked the peephole, and rolled my eyes. He looked bad. Hair unwashed, clothes wrinkled, eyes manic from lack of sleep or too much self-pity. I unlatched the top chain just enough to open the door 2 inches. You have 5 seconds, I said, no entry. He swallowed, looking like he'd rehearsed this moment in the mirror. I need money for an apartment deposit. I blinked slowly. No. He stiffened. I ended things with Amanda. Doesn't that mean anything to you? It means you realized she couldn't save your career, I said. Nothing more. His jaw clenched. Classic defensive posture. I gave you 5 years, he insisted. You owe me something. I owe you exactly what the prenup says, I replied, which is nothing. Anger flashed across his face, but he smothered it, switching tactics like a salesman adjusting the pitch. Fine. Then at least let me grab my stuff from the storage room, he said. My old textbooks, winter clothes. It won't take long. I hesitated, not because I cared about his belongings, but because I was curious. 5 minutes, I said. I'll be watching. He nodded too quickly, too eager, suspicious. The storage room scene. I walked behind him as he entered. He made a show of heading straight for the plastic bin with his old jackets. I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, saying nothing. He rummaged. 1 box, another. Then he froze, hands hovering near my side of the storage area. I narrowed my eyes. Ryan? No, I'm just, checking what's mine. He bent down, then lifted a bundle of winter jackets, too neatly wrapped, too heavy, too rectangular. My stomach dropped, not with emotion, with recognition. Ryan, I said quietly, put it down. He froze, turned around slowly. I thought these were my jackets. They're not, I said. And you've never owned a case shaped like that in your life. I stepped forward and pulled the jackets aside, revealing my rifle case, half wrapped, the handle barely hidden. A $2,000 precision rifle. The one my father helped me customize. The one Ryan had never touched, because he always said guns were more your thing. You've got to be kidding me, I said. He stuttered. I wasn't... You were stealing, I snapped. From my home, from my property. after cheating on me for 8 months. He swallowed hard. No, I was confused. I thought this was yours? My voice cut through the air like a cold blade. His eyes darted toward the door, calculating, pathetic. I pulled out my phone and held it up. You have 5 seconds before I dial 911. He panicked. Wait, Nora, please, we can talk. This is ridiculous. 4. He dropped the rifle case so fast it hit the floor with a thud. 3. He backed away, hands raised. Okay, I'm sorry, just don't. 2. He scrambled for his actual box of belongings. No need to call anybody. I'm leaving. I'm going. 1. He grabbed the box and fled the condo without looking back. I locked the door behind him. Deadbolt, chain, doorstop, every layer. Then I stood there breathing steadily, not shaking, not emotional, just done. I texted Clarissa. He tried to steal my rifle, add attempted theft to our notes, also requesting early restraining order filing. She responded instantly. Jesus, on it, see you Monday. The prenup hearing. 3 weeks later, the judge's courtroom smelled like old carpet, paper, and humiliation. Ryan looked worse than the last time I'd seen him. His attorney looked like he knew exactly how this was going to go. Clarissa and I sat at our table, organized, composed, untouchable. Before the hearing even started, Ryan's lawyer looked through the evidence binder, the logs, the photos, the receipts, the timeline. His face lost color, then hope, then dignity. He leaned over to Ryan and whispered something that made Ryan stiffen. Then he asked Clarissa, "Could we take a moment outside?" They stepped out. 5 minutes later, they returned. Ryan's lawyer stood. Your Honor, my client would like to accept the prenup terms and proceed with finalizing the divorce. Just like that. No argument, no negotiation, no drama. The judge reviewed this prenup, glanced at the evidence summary, asked Ryan 2 questions. Did you sign willingly? Yes. Are you contesting the documented infidelity? Ryan started to speak, something about context, but the judge cut him off. Infidelity invalidates any claim you have. Prenup stands. Gavel. Done. 5 years of marriage dissolved in 15 minutes. Because Ryan felt terrible, but not terrible enough to stop himself. Because he wanted to confess only when he thought I had sinned too. Because evidence beats emotion every time. He walked out with his clothes, his car, his personal checking account, maybe $3,000 in total. He lost everything else. I kept the condo. I kept the stability. I kept the future he tried to gamble with. And as he left the courthouse, shoulders slumped, life in shambles, I didn't feel triumphant. I didn't feel sorry either. I felt finished. But karma wasn't done yet. And neither were the ghosts of our pasts. The morning after the divorce finalized, I woke up in a quiet condo that finally felt like mine again. No stale cologne, no anxiety humming in the walls, no man pacing behind me like a storm I couldn't predict. Just me, the sunlight on the hardwood, the faint hum of the city outside, and freedom, real freedom, not the theoretical kind you read about in books, the kind you can feel in your lungs. The prenup had done exactly what it was designed to do, protect me. Ryan walked away with scraps. I walked away intact. But standing in the middle of my living room, I realized I didn't just want to survive. I wanted to rebuild, sharper, stronger, on my own terms. Paying off the condo. First move, refinance. I took half of my partnership bonus from the previous quarter and threw it at the mortgage like a grenade. The remaining balance dropped to a laughably manageable number. 3 months later, after my first post-divorce big case settled, I wiped out the remaining balance entirely. Debt-free at 40. My father would have cried proud, silent tears. My mother would have printed the statement and taped it to the fridge. I sat at my dining table, staring at the paid in full notice, and laughed. A sound that felt new, like it belonged to someone unburdened. Becoming partner for real. A week after the divorce, the firm voted me in. Officially. No more vague promises about next cycle. No more you're on track. I was in. Bigger cases, bigger clients, a 3% equity share, a parking spot with my name on it. The partners toasted with champagne in the conference room. Someone clapped me on the back and said, "About damn time. You're one of our killers." I smiled, cleanly, genuinely. Not because I needed their approval, but because I'd earned it myself. Not as someone's wife, not as half of a pair, but as Nora Callahan, sharp, relentless, steady-handed. The body follows the mind. With the emotional chaos gone, I turned all that leftover mental energy into something productive. Gym, 3 days a week. Trainer, compound lifts, deadlifts, squats, bench. I lost 15 pounds, gained muscle, and watched myself reappear in the mirror. Not the woman who'd been quietly suffocating under a cheating husband, but the woman who had once sat in a deer blind with a rifle steady in cold hands, waiting for the perfect shot. Strong, patient, clear-eyed. Hank arrives. 4 months after the divorce, I walked into the city shelter on a whim. Walked out with a 70-pound pit mix named Hank. He had one floppy ear, a scar across his nose, and eyes that said, "It's me and you against the world, okay?" I filled out the paperwork, loaded him into my car, and by the time we pulled into the driveway, he'd already decided I was home. Evenings changed, long walks, ball-chasing sessions in the park, Hank snoring on the couch while I reviewed briefs. There's something grounding about a creature who doesn't know what divorce is and doesn't care. A dog can't fake loyalty, can't cheat, doesn't lie. Hank was honesty made of fur and muscle, exactly what I needed. Dating again, slowly. 5 months after the divorce, I let myself download a dating app. Just one, with my real face, something Charlie could never reach. I didn't expect much. Coffee dates with finance guys who talked about crypto. Dinners with men who used partner in crime, unironically. A few decent conversations, a few boring ones. Then, Hayden. Our first date was supposed to be 15 minutes. It turned into 3 hours. And when the check came, he reached for his wallet. Then he paused, looked at me. "Split it?" he asked. My eyebrows shot up. "Split?" "Yeah," he said with a shrug. "I don't assume. It feels fair." Fair, a concept Ryan had never understood. I liked that about Hayden immediately. He was a graphic designer, owned his place downtown, had a car paid off, no debt, no chaos trailing behind him, no exes hidden like landmines under the surface. Our second date, he brought Hank a toy, a stupid stuffed hedgehog that Hank destroyed in 12 minutes. But that wasn't the point. Men don't buy dog toys unless they're thinking long-term. I didn't rush, I didn't label it, and Hayden didn't push. We just grew, side by side, simple, steady, uncomplicated. For the first time in years, I wasn't bracing for impact. The peace before the storm. 6 months into dating, Hayden posted a photo of us on a hike. Me standing on a ridge, sun behind me, Hank photobombing with his tongue out. We looked happy, unforced, real. I shared it to my Instagram story around noon. Got the usual. "OMG, love this. Hank is stealing the show, TBA." Then I put my phone down and went on with my day. I didn't think twice. Didn't think about Charlie. Didn't think about Ryan. Why would I? They were both gone. Story over. Chapter closed. But fate, or chaos, or karma, has a way of saving its most dramatic twist for the exact moment your guard is down. I had no idea that a single photo of me and my dog would do more damage than any legal motion I'd ever filed. No idea that 2 ghosts from my past saw it, interpreted it as an invitation, and began driving toward my home. One from the north, one from the south, completely unaware they were about to collide. On the same night, at the same door, for the same woman. And I was about to witness absolute chaos unfold on my doorstep, in stereo. 2 weeks after Hayden posted that hiking picture of us and Hank, life felt blissfully ordinary, the kind of quiet that makes you forget storms ever existed. We were making dinner together, him chopping vegetables, me seasoning chicken on the balcony grill, Hank snoring on the couch like a furry boulder. Then the doorbell rang. Not a knock, the doorbell. We both froze. No one just shows up at my place, ever. "Expecting someone?" Hayden called through the sliding door. "No," I said, and nobody who likes me rings the bell. I wiped my hands, walked to the door, and checked the peephole. My entire body went cold. Charlie. Charlie from 2 years ago. Charlie who made the fake Tinder profile. Charlie who tried to blow up my marriage. Charlie who had texted me 3 weeks before the divorce pretending Ryan hacked him. He was standing on my doorstep, smiling. Like this was a rom-com and not a restraining order prequel. I turned to Hayden. "It's my psycho ex-boyfriend. Stay inside." He blinked. "You're what now?" "Just don't come to the door." I cracked it open with the security chain still latched. "Why are you here, Charlie?" He beamed like he had rehearsed this. "I saw your Instagram post, the one with the dog." My stomach dropped. "Of course, that picture. I needed to see you," he went on. "To tell you I'm sorry." "For what?" I asked. "For sabotaging my marriage? Stalking my social media? Catfishing my husband?" He winced, but only barely. "I was hurt then. Angry. I've changed. I'm a better person now. I thought maybe we could talk." "Talk about what?" I snapped. "We broke up over 2 years ago." I know, he said softly, leaning forward like we were sharing a secret. But I've had time to think, and I realized we were good together. Charlie, I said, voice flat as concrete, you faked a Tinder account to destroy my marriage. There is no version of reality where we're getting coffee. His face flickered, a flash of anger under the calm. He steadied himself. That was a mistake, he whispered, but I've changed. You need to leave, I said, now. Just 5 minutes. Leave, I repeated, or I'm calling the police. He didn't move. Of course he didn't. Men like him believe persistence equals destiny. I drove 3 hours to get here, he said. That's your problem, I replied, and you have 30 seconds to walk off my property. His eyebrows shot up. You don't mean that. I started counting. 20. Nora. 10. He finally stepped back. You're making a mistake, he said. That guy in your picture will never understand you like I did. I closed the door, locked it, double locked it. Hayden peeked from the hallway. Well, that was dramatic. I exhaled. More dramatic than you know. Because 7 minutes later, the doorbell rang again. I swear the universe paused to watch. I checked the peephole, and my brain completely froze. Ryan, looking like he'd driven over straight from the inside of rock bottom. Hair messy, shirt wrinkled, eyes haunted. Oh, you've got to be kidding me, I whispered. Hayden, is it the same guy? Worse, I said. It's my ex-husband. He let out a low whistle. I'll get popcorn. I cracked the door open again, chain still locked. Ryan, I said, what are you doing here? He swallowed hard. I saw your Instagram. I saw you with him, and I wanted to talk. About what? About us, he said. I've been thinking. A lot. I made mistakes, Nora. Big ones. But I ended things with Amanda. That has to mean something. Before I could respond, he glanced over his shoulder and stiffened. Who is that? Down the driveway, Charlie was standing outside his car, staring at us like he owned me. Ryan turned back to me. Are you seeing him again? Absolutely not, I snapped. He's the one who faked the Tinder screenshots. Ryan's nostrils flared. He stepped closer. That man ruined our marriage. No, I said sharply. You ruined our marriage. He just threw gasoline on the flames you lit. Before he could react, the universe threw the match. Charlie started walking toward the door. Ryan spun around. What the hell are you doing here? Charlie smirked. Funny, I was going to ask you the same thing. I came to talk to my wife, Ryan growled. Ex-wife, I corrected. Very much ex. And you, Charlie shot at me, ignoring Ryan's glare, are letting him talk to you after everything he did? Ryan rounded on him. You don't get to say her name. I can say what I want, Charlie snapped. You cheated on her for 8 months. And you tried to catfish me into thinking she cheated on me, Ryan yelled. Hayden popped his head beside me, eyes wide. Are these both your exes? Yes, I said. They both just showed up at the same time. This is amazing. He quietly lifted his phone. I'm recording this. They kept shouting, neither aware of the growing audience. My neighbor stepped onto his balcony with a soda. His wife joined him. Someone across the courtyard whispered, Oh my God, is this happening? Charlie and Ryan got chest to chest. Charlie shoved Ryan. Ryan shoved back harder. Ryan yelled that Charlie was a stalker. Charlie yelled that Ryan was a manipulator. Both yelled that the other never deserved me. Hayden whispered, I am witnessing the Avengers of Red Flags. I stepped outside. Both of you stop, I said loudly. Leave now. They ignored me, still screaming, still posturing. It hit me then. They weren't fighting for me. They were fighting for their egos, for ownership, for the fantasy versions of me they each carried like trophies they'd lost. So I pulled out my phone and dialed 911. Hayden raised his eyebrows. Oh, we're escalating. I respect it. The dispatcher answered. I gave the basics. 2 men, trespassing, harassing me, history of stalking and threats. While I was talking, they kept shoving each other. Ryan calling Charlie delusional, Charlie calling Ryan pathetic. Fists clenched, bodies tense. 5 minutes later, sirens. 2 patrol cars pulled into the lot. Both exes stopped mid-argument, breath heaving, eyes wide. The officers got out, separated them, asked questions, took statements. I gave a calm, thorough summary, including Charlie's past harassment, Charlie's fake Tinder sabotage, Ryan's attempted theft, Ryan showing up uninvited, both men yelling, shoving, refusing to leave. The cops just stared at them like they'd walked into a soap opera. One officer muttered, Jesus Christ. After cross-checking everything and listening to both men argue at the same time, the officers turned to me. Ma'am, do you want them arrested? Yes, I said. and I want restraining orders filed tomorrow morning." Ryan's face collapsed. Charlie looked like someone had electrocuted him. Both men were handcuffed, placed into separate patrol cars, probably to keep them from strangling each other. Neighbors clapped from balconies. Hayden recorded the entire walk of shame. As the police left with two ghosts from my past screaming different versions of the same delusion, I felt something settle inside me. Something final. Clean. This wasn't revenge. This was closure. And I was finally free. The police cruisers rolled away with both of my exes inside, red and blue lights washing over the apartment courtyard like stage lighting at the end of a play. The neighbors slowly disappeared from balconies. Hank stretched on the couch like nothing unusual had happened. And Hayden closed the front door, set his phone down, and let out a breath that turned into a laugh. "I'm sorry," he said, "but that was the greatest live show I've ever seen. 10 out of 10. Would watch again." I snorted. "We're not doing sequels." He stepped close, kissed my forehead, and whispered, "Good, because I like the calm version of you better." For the first time all night, my chest loosened. The next morning, the final decisive shot. At 8 a.m. sharp, I walked into the police station with my hair up, no makeup, coffee in hand, and my entire evidence history printed and tabbed in a binder I'd prepared last night after the cops left. Hayden had offered to come with me. I told him I was okay, and I was. I filed restraining orders against both Ryan and Charlie. Ironclad, meticulously documented, impossible to argue against. The clerk flipped through my evidence packet, eyebrows climbing higher with every page. "Do you work in law?" she finally asked. "Commercial litigation," I said. "That makes sense. This is thorough." Translation: This is the best restraining order evidence packet I've ever seen. The judge reviewed the police report first. The yelling, the trespassing, the fight that almost broke out on my lawn. Then the clerk handed over my binder. The judge flipped 3 pages, stopped, closed it. "Nora Callahan," she said, "these are granted, effective immediately." Just like that. 1 year protection from Charlie. 1 year protection from Ryan. No contact. No proximity. No DMs, no calls, no surprise visits, no chaos. It was the most peaceful court ruling of my life. Aftermath, exes and ruins. The fallout hit them fast. Ryan lost his job, lost his apartment, lost whatever dignity he had left. Amanda wanted nothing to do with him. Her husband filed for divorce the same week. Ryan ended up sleeping on a friend's couch, likely the last one who hadn't blocked him yet. He called my work line once. The receptionist hung up. Policy. Charlie. His landlord found out about the arrest. Eviction notice. He tried messaging my brother on social media, like that would help. It didn't. My brother sent him a gif of a trash can on fire. Meanwhile, my life kept rising. The thing people never tell you about starting over at 40 is this. It feels like the world opens again. But this time, with all the wisdom you didn't have at 25. Work was thriving. Making partner brought in a new level of cases, ones that challenged me and reminded me why I'd gotten into law in the first place. I invested my partnership bonus wisely, mutual funds, a rental property, and a separate emergency fund I labeled "in case of men." Hayden laughed so hard when he saw that, he choked on his water. Evenings were peaceful. Hank's snoring became my favorite background noise. Walks around the neighborhood turned into hikes on weekends. My condo, now truly my own, felt brighter, bigger, alive. Me and Hayden. Hayden never rushed me, never asked for timelines, never tried to replace anything. He just showed up, gently, consistently. Sometimes the quietest love is the strongest. After a year together, he brought it up casually over takeout. "You know," he said, nudging his chopsticks toward me, "I think Hank likes me more than you." "Impossible," I said. "He tolerates you. He worships me." "Maybe," Hayden grinned. "But worship is a good foundation for a little cohabitation?" I froze. He didn't. He took a bite of noodles like he hadn't just detonated a perfect bomb. "I'm not saying move in now," he added quickly. "Just someday, when it feels right." That was the key. When it feels right. Not when someone is pressuring me. Not when someone is guilty. Not because someone made a mess and wanted me to clean it. Because of timing. Because of choice. Because of me. I leaned across the table, kissed him, and whispered, "Someday, yeah, I can see it." The final shot. A year after the chaos, I sat on my balcony with Hank at my feet, a glass of wine in hand, and my phone buzzing with a notification. Hayden posted a photo of us. Not dramatic, not posed, just me laughing with my head thrown back while Hank attacked my shoelaces. The caption read, "My favorite kind of peace." I looked at the picture for a long time, not because of how I looked, but because of what it meant. I had rebuilt everything, not out of spite, not out of revenge, but out of patience. The same patience I learned in a freezing deer blind when I was 8, waiting for the exact moment to take the shot. This time, the shot wasn't about destroying anything. It was about choosing myself, my life, my peace, my future. Charlene, Ryan, Charlie, all gone. All outside the perimeter, all out of range. And me, I finally understood something. The most powerful revenge is a life so quiet, so grounded, so fulfilled. It makes the people who tried to break you wonder how they ever thought they had the power.